Yes, sir.
All right. We'll now call the city council regular meeting to order for February 28th. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. The invocation is given by Deputy Mayor Jim Bernard.
That's great. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for your love and thank you for being with all of us tonight. We ask you to drive throughout and protect everybody that's here and those that cannot make it, those that don't know, with different health issues, and protect everybody that's here that's making it complete. Dear Lord, we ask you to hopefully bring peace back to the rest of the world. This is a time that's very difficult. I think that put your arms around people that they can stop this war. Yes, we also be with our military and first responders that are still active in other issues at home as well as COVID. Therefore, we also ask you to give us the knowledge and wisdom to continue this meeting. Decisions that you will know, the decisions that's going to be taken apart.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First, please call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire. Here. Councilmember Taylor. Here. Deputy Mayor Bernard.
Here.
Mayor Anderson.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. First up, we have the Ridge Area Arc Scarf Bomb campaign again. They're going to make their way up here to tell us how they're going to make our town more beautiful.
Good morning, or afternoon, good evening. It's Dawn Sherlocker. I'm Director of Development for the Cherry Art. Porter, she's our CEO. We are once again coming to ask for the permission to Scarf Bomb downtown. March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. So what we do is take scarves like these with tags, wrap them around the lampposts, and we're hoping that people enjoy the beautiful weather that we're having. They can take a scarf, put it around their neck, take a selfie. It's really just advocacy and awareness for what we're doing to politicians. To people, if there are any scarves left over by the end of the month, we will remove them by March 31st.
It's gone very well in previous years. And we appreciate
A lot of
it
fun.
very much.
Good press coverage too. So yes.
Any questions for Art?
No, I just appreciate all you do. I hope everybody grabs one and I hope they give a donation with you kindly after.
I have a question. Sure. What do your tags say?
It says that March is Developmental Disabilities Awareness Month. They kind of gives you instructions on what to do, where it, take it. You're willing to advocate for individuals with disability. We're hoping you'll share it on your social networks.
So you actually encourage them to take the
Yes,
scarf?
yes.
Oh,
We
okay,
put those
okay.
forms out every year. So yeah, it's just a little.
Very good. Any other questions?
You can have it, it's yours. Take a selfie, post it,
Okay.
tag us.
We thank you guys again. We look forward to it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Item number 5, we have the River Greens Community Lake Name Water Line issue. Dave Flower. Name and address, please.
Good evening, David Flowers, 197 West Lake Damon Drive, Avon Park.
Yes, sir.
I come before you today asking for consideration in getting a water line service to my home. Y'all can see this diagram. I'll point out what we've got going on here.
Yep.
Right behind here is a 4-inch water main. Right here is a 2-inch line that comes off of that, comes under the roof and serves 2 houses. So you have a 2-inch line coming off with a cutoff valve, which is right there. 2-inch coming off 4-inch, which is right here. And it feeds this house and this house. I'm building a house right there. And I'm requesting the permission to have a city water meter put there and run 100 foot of line. It's 100 foot of where I would need it to right where the meter is there.
Yep.
I will do it to your specifications, whatever you require. I'll pay for the jacking bore under the driveway. I'll get the county right of way permission. I'll handle all of that. I just need for y'all to say, yes, it's okay. I have a letter in there that sent to you by Mr. Carl Cool, where he said that the 2-inch line is way more than adequate to service 3 houses.
Yeah.
So if there's a break in the line. Line stops there, and then it comes back here. This one here is a 1.5-inch line that comes off of the 4-inch main over here. So that's 1.5 that comes 300 feet away from my house. This one is 100 feet with a 2-inch main. 100 feet, that's all I need there.
Yeah. So a little bit of backstory. You'll remember some time ago, not sure, I think it was sometime last year, there was a moratorium that was put on new water lines. So that's kind of why this is coming to the council, is we weren't running any more new connections until we had our actual master plan that's getting done this year. So the question becomes, is this fixing an enclave or is this running new water lines? It's kind of where it comes down to. So obviously water connections were not really a problem. It was running more water lines is kind of the issue. So in my opinion, this is something that was already engineered by the engineers that did Lake Damon community. And whenever the city of Avon Park bought that water system or connected to it, yeah, we basically already knew what the engineering was going to be. So in my mind, I see this as basically fixing a problem that already exists. We're not necessarily running a new water main or anything like that. We're just simply fixing one lot that had not been developed in a place that is 99.99% developed. So this is, as I understand it, the last lot in that connection that can actually be built, right? So, right. That's on.
That's not a building lot. That's too narrow. That's part of their yard. That's not-
Wasn't that the old Bagwell?
Yes,
Yeah. So that house basically sits on part of that lot, is that right?
he broke it off and so me.
I got you. It was his old putting green.
It was.
So, I guess it's the music flowers, fine fellow. You did, this as I recall, because a lot of things, I recommended it. Because
Right.
It's not wise utility management to run 2-inch lines anywhere. You should be running the proper size main that you can get, fire flows from. You know, it's not huge, bigger than 4-inch, 6 inches minimum. And so you should plan it out. If you're going to continue to do these types of services, I would say that you need an agreement anybody can do it with that says that they understand it's a temporary line and that, you know, when a full-size line is running, they have to get a portion share of that line. Because otherwise, if you do to run mains to other locations, you're going to end up having to pay for yourself. And just replacing the 2-inch lines and serving all these people. Whereas normally in the law, you can assess the properties that are receiving the benefit of the line that has fire flows and service and good flows and service. And, you know, it may be the 2-inch line is fine for 3 homes. I would not think it's all the time. Perhaps, you know, if they're not all doing something big at the same time. But I leave that to the engineers. It's my recommendation still the same, but it's up to you. How they want to handle this.
So I guess the question would be for the, for Rick. Conceivably, this is the last house that's going to be built there. The engineers seem to think that the line is adequate. So I would ask you, can you identify any reason as to why it would not be adequate?
If I'm not mistaken, it's showing that lot 13, lot 15, currently, we don't have some water. So, I'm sure lot 15, 16, that's how you go to lot 20. So, lot 15, lot 15, lot 20. Well,
Right.
long had it, say, well, it's 16. Doesn't show those lots have current water. That's not one lot. So,
lots 13 and 14, they have houses on them currently, right?
Correct. Those houses were built back in the fifties and sixties. They have very deep wells there. I have talked to them. They seem to have no interest in hooking up to the city water at this time.
Okay. So obviously, there's a line on the, that's running in between lots 12 and 13 right there, that basically stops at the corner of 13.
Correct.
So ideally, in the future, you always want to make everything a loop. So ideally, in the future, those would be connected, right?
Right, as well as from lot 16, lot 20. Well,
So the question comes down to, you know, the engineering behind it is, did they put adequate lines in there from the get-go or did they not?
that amount.
Adequate for what? I mean, it's adequate for, probably for general service, but they're not gonna get fire flows, obviously. So you're not gonna have any fire hydrants in that area, which the county, and its comprehensive plan, so the whole county. Like to say, you know, minimum services level is fire flows for everybody. I can't do anything about what you've already run. But just think about that when you run new stuff.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is you can't upsize what's already there.
No, but you, in the future, you're gonna run lines. You know,
But would you ever run a 2-inch line to a fire hydrant? You couldn't. Your minimum, what, 6 inch?
6 inch to get the residential. Well, you can do the 6 inch for residential, if it's a loop line, it gets you 500 gallons a minute.
Right.
But
So-
if you want commercial, it's 1,500 gallons a minute, 20 PSI.
Yeah.
Then that would require an 8 or 10, not possibly 12 inch line.
So out there at River Greens, they originally had wells and then did we buy that system and then we connected it?
I know.
Yes, and then we connected it to our municipal wells. We don't run their wells anymore, right? Right. So if we ever want to put in a, you know, fire hydrant down there, we're gonna have to run a big line, a 6 or 8 inch line down to that area. So that's not really gonna make a difference on these houses because they wouldn't be, you know, you're gonna have to dig up the whole ground in order to do that anyway.
That's what I'm saying, you know, I understand, if you need, feel like you need to do this, you know, at least get an agreement, it's a temporary one, we hope for the future, but they would have to look at anyway, because the mandatory connection policy.
Yeah.
But, you know, your, cost of running that line is supposed to be borne by people who have benefits of it. Right. It's
So,
not gonna be that way. Right, so it's 2 inch, you simply say, well, you have water now, it's adequate for you, but we still want you to put the 6 inch line, because you don't have fire flows. Now, can we make that legal argument? Yes, but politically, you understand how much.
sure.
Well,
Yeah. No, I mean, the larger political issue comes down to, we're currently under moratorium. So we've denied others service based upon this moratorium and running new water lines. So the question comes down to is this running and when I say water line, that's a loose term, running new water mains. So the question becomes, is this running a water main or is it not? In my view, I don't think that it is. And that's kind of why I'm comfortable moving forward with this one. In other requests that we've had, they wanted us to run lines, you know, 1,000 feet down a road that's never been ran before. This is more or less, you know, connecting two lines that already exist. So,
Mayor, can I add?
absolutely.
As we know, there's been a moratorium on not running or extending lines. Because in the past, there's been 2 inches run here, 2 inches run there to somebody that wanted it. I mean, Rick's got 2 inch lines where you can't put anybody else on, so we're trying to put a stop.
Many they're not even aware of yet.
Right, things you're not even aware of, things, yeah, pipes in the ground, we ended up insurance paying to fix people's houses. They were there, but, and this is, they have known David for years and years, and this is nothing on David, but this is kind of a pick and choose, because it isn't just people that were extending lines, putting new lines down and telling no. Rick tells people no every day on extending lines. And he just had one the other day where the person's building up to 6 homes.
Yeah, 4 houses up right now, he's got coming up, it's 50 feet.
And we've got several other people, several others that are 100 feet away. I got a neighbor who wanted it a year ago. We're 100 feet away from I think a 2 inch line. And I said, no, we can't give it to you. So I'm just coming on this side of it.
Yeah.
people haven't actually come, this is only the second person that I've been here that's come in front of you. But we're telling people no every day. Again, I'm not against David getting it in his or against him. Just kind of telling everybody else no until we get this master plan. We got a hold of Kimley Horn, they're 20% done. They figure about 5 months, maybe 6, but hopefully 5, they'll be done with it. And so on the staff side, that's where we're at. We just continue to tell people every day no. I take, when they get a little mad at Rick or whatever, they do get me and I talk to them, but most of the time Rick talks to them. But he's telling them, how many in a week do you have like this? Just extending a line instead of putting a brand new one down a road.
It's about every day. I mean, we get probably sometimes 6 to 7 water bill.
Good problem to have.
Yeah, I mean, you're out there.
Right.
We're looking up. We're looking up a lot. We're looking at a lot of meters.
So that, I mean, you
So
got,
it's existing. We're getting where we're burning down.
So I guess I would ask you then, what is your opinion of, obviously you're connecting meters. So we're doing water hookups. We're just not running water mains.
Correct.
So where do you see the difference, I guess?
Because there's a water line in front of it, we're connected to it.
Right.
We're not gonna do water lines. No matter 50 people, across the property, we're not running.
I see.
So to me, if we go ahead and approve this, well, what's the next guy that said, well, I'm only 50 feet away?
Yeah.
And
So-
I got 6 houses going on 8 of them development right here.
Right.
We're,
Okay.
who's got some development?
Right, and so the reason why we don't want to run new water lines is because we don't have plans to know what everything is engineered for, right?
The idea of the plan is, if the plan says this street should have a 6-inch or 8-inch or whatever, that in order to get water, we have to run that pipe, and get the neighbors to participate,
Right.
or maybe the city would
Which is-
participate if they can get grants or something like
Which
that.
is based off
But
of
you're not
engineering.
running anymore towards pipes, and you're running the pipes that are necessary for the city to be built out in a proper and responsible way.
Right, exactly. So, but it's all based upon the engineering of the lines and everything and what they can support and doesn't make sense, right? Okay, so having said that, in this particular case, or in a case of where you're gonna build a subdivision, if that subdivision is fully designed and built and made adequate for, 20 lots, 50 lots, however many lots it has, does it make a difference if only one is connected or if all but one is connected? It's already been designed for that, right? So, I'm not sure.
This example, your example about the subdivision. It's not just what's adequate for them, it's what is necessary for the city to expand the city. So if you are gonna run, if they say, well, I only need a 6-inch, but we're all residential, that's all fire flow we need. But then somebody down the street wants something, well, they don't have enough down anymore for fire flows. We should have run a 12-inch instead of a 6-inch.
Right.
That's what the plan's gonna say. So that person may only need a 6-inch, but they're gonna have to pay for a 12-inch. We give them a reimbursement agreement for the additional cost, or the city pays for it and does it in the main extension period.
Yeah.
But however that's done, you put the proper size line in there, so you do it responsibly.
yeah, well, yeah, and that's kind of what I'm getting to, is that with Crystal Lake, for example, we bought the Crystal Lake system. And they have X amount of lots in there. We were buying that and we were basing off of their need off of being fully built out, right?
Yeah, if it's on the edge of your service area, let's say it's right at the city limits of Sebring, then you can easily figure out how much you need for pipe. But if you're talking, going east or west,
Right.
and what's the proper size for that? And that's what you look at in the master plan. And then they can say, well, we'll run out to this point and then we'll stop. If we need something more, we'll build a water plant out here, which will,
Yeah, so
these are the things that engineers have to do in order for us to responsibly, build, put pipes in and run extensions.
right. Well, that's kind of what I'm getting at, is with with River Greens in particular, it's a planned community. It's something that's already been designed from the get-go to be this community as built out as however many lots are there. Now, some of these lots have been taken up because one larger house takes up 2 lots, 3 lots, whatever. But it was already designed and built for that many lots. And so if no more than that many lots exist, you're never going to overburden the system. And whenever we connected to that system, we would have did it based upon what their engineering was, not necessarily how many actual units were there, right?
So you do it in relation to how many units are there for their internal grid only.
Right.
Outside, you look at is this gonna be, are we gonna be serving somebody that further downstream from there? If so, we need a larger pipe out front.
Right.
Then they can put wherever they want for internal grid, that'll be their responsibility.
But this is a dead end in between three lakes. There is no
Can't
connection.
go anywhere else, then, okay, fine.
It's a peninsula.
I don't know, I'm not familiar with it, but I'm just saying that was the purpose of that is to have the ability to go further than, the other parties, like I said, the fire hydrants or.
Sure. You know for a fact you're not gonna get a fire hydrant off of a 2 or 4 inch line.
And you'd have to have a much larger one.
Right.
And depending on where the area is, it may be 6, 8, or 10.
Sure.
As well.
Right.
Because if it's not looped, there's no pressure.
Yeah,
That's what the engineering study's gonna do, is it's gonna look at pressure in different areas and say, okay, well, here you're gonna need it.
and there's a big clubhouse out there that has regular meetings with hundreds of people and, you know, it's not an ideal situation to not have a fire hydrant out there.
I have a question, if this is gonna be the end of the line, we can't go any farther, too much line.
Right.
And Mr. Powers basically has the extension done himself, but all we're doing,
And same for the engineering.
yeah, and all we're doing is just taking the connection that you pay for, and then, in the rest of the flow, really not costing the city any money or any really loss of water pressure.
No, it won't cost the city time.
Yeah, so, I don't know, in this case, it's kind of unusual, like, if you say that this is the dead end as far as it's gonna go, and it's already designed for that, then that's something we want into. I think it's responsible, my grandfather, in, especially as long as he pays the full cost of that.
Yeah, I mean,
You already got engineers saying that.
I don't even see it as grandfather. It's something that's already been engineered. We're just simply allowing it to
Okay, yeah,
reach its potential, no different than Crystal Lake was or any, there's another community out there, is a Orange Blossom or Orangewood community, something like that. There's X amount of buildings that are gonna be in there, period. There is no more. And it was engineered
one
for
of
it.
some of these things that were under engineered to do that.
Right. We're not, you're not running it down a random road.
I'm not an engineer.
Yeah.
But I think your engineer's report is gonna come back and recommend that it's all looped,
Right,
which would mean just extending that lot next to me to the other side.
right.
That's on y'all, y'all want to do that.
Well, in plan review today, nobody's gonna be approved with a subdivision that's gonna have 2 inch pipe as its internal grid.
I completely understand it.
Right.
And I'm willing to sign the temporary line thing that you're talking about.
So to take it a little bit broader than this particular statement is, it's not necessarily just about this one house connection. Is if we have a big subdivision, I believe there's been a big subdivision that has actually come to the city and asked us for availability somewhere over there by 27 and beachfront area.
Yeah, there's 2, one on the north side, one there, yeah.
Right, and they're fairly substantial sites. So what that entails is we have to know, do we have enough adequate water to supply them? Do we have adequate sewer that we can supply them? But then as far as the engineering beyond that, they have to provide all that, right?
Well, we have a set of standard specifications regarding what that is. And we do plan review, we don't allow people to just put whatever small size pipe they want to put inside the grid. Because, you have a certain responsibility, for the public safety, health, and welfare of the people that buy the homes there, even though they might buy it from somebody who's, going to give you a line that's not proper.
Sure.
It happens all the time. We're going to require that they have some kind of fire hydrants and so on. I think that's the law anyway at this point. It's certainly in the comp plans.
Right.
And to that extent, maybe this is grandfather with regard to the fire hydrants, but
So at this point in time, we're telling all those people that we can't do anything until we have this study, right? These new developments.
The people with the development,
The new developments, yeah.
Yeah.
What do we tell them?
that we have availability, water and wastewater.
So if they actually want to break ground and move forward, how are we gonna do that?
well, you can look at that subdivision and the internal grid, and you're gonna say, okay, how far south, that's the ones on the south side, the southern area, and how far can this extend in order for the city to expand?
Right.
And reasonably with regard to conflict with secret and so on. And they're gonna make sure you have a lot, like, there's a big enough line of feedback.
So the question would be, how can we do that safely without this master plan?
It's the same engineer that do the recommendation.
So they want to tie in, we get an engineer to approve the amount of water, basically the same thing with the master. What size pipe we got there, we're gonna, have the fire code, so on and so forth. We'll give them that information. And
Right.
At that time, they can say, yes, your plan can take it, yes, the line is designed to take that flow, to 450 homes. And
Right.
At that time, you're basically doing the same thing. That would be.
Right. So would you agree that the moratorium was more or less it more or less deals with Avon Park Lakes, right? We have lots and lots of homes out there that want to connect. The problem is it's already built out and it's onesies and twosies. It's not planned development, right? So we were originally talking about basically, previous council members said, we want to spend X amount of dollars, we want to hire X amount of people, we want to run X amount of people line per year, whatever, right? And so for that, we wanted to have this moratorium so that we got our master plan done. But for these planned unit developments that are proposing, we're willing to do because all the engineering is going to be done and we feel safe that it's all adequate, right? So in this particular case of this community that's already planned and developed, where is the risk is what I'm getting at. And why would we stop it if it's built to the same everything? Am I off base here?
No, you're not. I just, your decision is your decision. You can't back up, Dave. You said we stand up here, but we just need to know that because if we got other extensions where we're gonna add 6 homes to it, we probably ought to do that too.
Right.
So I don't want to get into a pick and choose. You get it and you don't. You're
Sure.
a who you're not. You're whatever. When you get into that, we're going back to what used to happen here. And we want to avoid that. We're not against anybody from getting water. I mean, you got Barry over here who's been on me he stopped getting on me the past few months. He's got a friend in Avon Park Lakes that wants to develop, and it's how many
Right.
thousands of dollars for a well?
$18,000.
18,000.
He won't guarantee the water.
Right, and we've told him no, because how far we gotta run that line, Rick? Yeah.
So it's my recommendation that the city not ever run one. We might approve somebody doing that, but they should pay for it if they want it. And then we could get reimbursement to them if somebody else connects to it, but that's another story.
Yeah.
But
And in this case, the applicant is willing to pay for it.
if
And the
it is
engineering-
total dead end, there's no possibility of extending beyond it, maybe 2 inches is adequate. If there's no possibility to have fire close right now.
But the engineer says it's we don't have-
Yes, ma'am.
we
I
don't
have a
to say-
question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I just said that, yeah, the engineer that works for us, Carl Poole, says it's adequate. Since we don't have a city engineer that tells us anything different, so.
Well, that's the unfortunate part. About that.
I have a question for Ms. Flowers. So this is a new construction you've been ready to build?
Yes, I'm under construction now.
And you willing to pay for this new
Yes.
line? Everything?
Yes.
And opposed to Mark, everybody else who had to pay for it, the city? All the no's that you've been giving people for the last year. Who had to, if we did approve, who's gonna pay for it? The city?
Rick would have to answer that, whether people were willing to pay for
In
it.
some cases, it was the city, in some cases, it was the owner that was gonna actually run the line.
And so when the owner was gonna run the line itself, you still told them no?
City, city, didn't want it at that time.
I think it's bad policy for us to ever run lines for somebody else for free. And, it's just, because at some point you have to say, well, this one will do it, that one won't. And if you haven't got justification for it as a government, you have to treat everybody similarly in the sense that are under similar circumstances. And so, you start getting into a real mess with that, and you start picking and choosing, especially if they happen to be friends with everybody.
And this applicant,
Creates an issue.
and this applicant,
Are we doing the good old boy thing? That's right.
And Mr. Flowers, and you can't wait till the master plan? I'm just asking.
The walls are already up on the house. I'm waiting on the trusses right now. We need water there now. And I don't want to spend $18,000 for a well.
So if we say no today, just if, you got to go and dig a well?
Big well or wait?
And how much does that cost?
About 18,000.
And if you pay for the pipe, the water line, how much is that?
The cost of a 100-foot pipe. And let me be clear, the only thing I would need the city to do was I'm not going to tap into the city line. That would be for the city to do that. I'll run the line there, y'all hook it up, and then hook up the meter on the other end. That's all I need.
Well, and once again, I would recommend that the city, observe the tap being done by somebody from higher. Because I think the city just doesn't have personnel to go out and do these types of things for everybody. But the tap can be done by a tapping company, and they can observe the taps to make sure it's dry and not leaking. But those were all recommendations I made.
There's a tapping fee that everybody pays to tap into the city water. And you're not running the sewer, it's just water.
There's water.
Right. So I was just gonna ask what that tapping fee is. Okay.
Sorry.
My recollection is, my recollection was it was grossly inadequate to do what it called for being done there, which was tapping pipe and run a service line
Right.
for a distance. There's no way you can do it for that price. So it's been my recommendation for quite some time that you just basically say, if you want it, it's proper size, you run it. Your own contractors will observe, how you've done it, just to make sure that it's not going to leak. We'll have to have problem with leaks and a bad tap cell and all that sort of thing.
And in this case, Mr. Flowers will pay all those fees.
Yes, I am.
So there's no loss for the city. It's more or less just a policy question of, is this running a new line or is it not? And do we want to do it or not? Those are the only two questions.
I don't have an issue along the side agreement. Larger side of the pipe out down here.
Gary, do you have something?
I don't have a problem with either, as long as, like I said, the agreement that, it's a temporary line. If we want a larger main, we'll pay, go around share of that cost. We're done with it. And also that you'll, if you're gonna do this, you're gonna do it for other people, there's similar situations. So somebody else has got nowhere else to expand to on the line.
Right.
Engineer and Rick and.
But if they're in an engineered development, point I'm making,
Some of those engineered things were done properly, I can't turn to what's done today. That's the issue that, this probably should never have a two-way slide. Something we plan to do.
Yeah.
But it is in place, and we can use it. He's going to bear the cost, but, I don't have an issue with it. If anybody else, situation, if anybody else wants to do the same thing, the first thing they're gonna have to do is get an engineer that we know and trust that says this will work and it won't affect the city's plan at all. And then that's something that we can look at. Like I said, he's got engineers, but we don't have them. So,
and hopefully in 6 months, whenever we have a master plan, none of this matters.
so it's a temporary line, I understand.
You're still gonna have the same issue when you get your master plan, because the city master plan says, 12-inch main is required here. Look at the paper cost, 12-inch main.
Sure.
And the city won't need it.
The city won't need that. And we're not in the business of running lines for nothing.
Sure.
But at some point, the developer will come in, they'll sell big line, and they'll extend it, and they'll want reimbursement. And we'll make all those people connect at that point. That's when we're gonna need the agreement, which says, we agree it's temporary, but now we're ready to pay our pro rata share of the real maintenance coming in.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember there was a location out in, actually, even on Front Lakes that ran off the water line to the location. They used fire. They supplied the city with the pipe. That was the share.
From a church.
Yes. And the city did the other rest of the work.
Right.
But, like I said, different times, different things.
Okay, well, I mean, I'm for one and for it, given the circumstances.
For the last time, Mayor, I have a
Yes, ma'am.
question, and this is for Mark and
Great.
and Rick. Are we doing something for him that we haven't done for others in the past? The situation, I mean, his situation, have we had any other cases similar to his that we said no to? Similar to his? Because he's paying, and y'all not giving me the impression,
Rick would have to answer that because he's the one that deals with these and knows the
because
location.
I'm trying to be fair here,
Well,
Mr. Fowler, I'm
yeah.
not trying to get to you if we haven't done it for others.
So
So-
to be specific, is there a person who's been in a planned engineered development that's been willing to pay the cost to connect that was turned down?
No.
You could say it in the microphone, please.
No,
Adam?
Got my answer.
Oh, all right. Does anyone care to make a motion? I'll make the motion that we approve with Mr. Flowers paying the engineering fees, the connection fees, and the water line fees, along with agreeing to sign the agreement that he will connect to a larger water line if it is deemed that it's good.
at this cost, it's just temporary.
I assume that the line is, because there's a certain distance of 2-inch line when you need a permit to run it. Is that something that he's already, the engineer's already determined don't need? Because I think it's like 200 feet or something like that.
This is 100 feet, and the only thing I need a permit for is from the county for the right-of-way usage. Because Rodney Davis, who built the system bridge, his permit expired when he sold it to the city.
Okay.
And I will take on all that.
Okay, so there's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. You have a question? Jim? No. Any other questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Winter,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you, David.
Thank you very much. Now, what are my next steps? Where do I go now? Do I get with Rick? What do I do now?
Coordinate with Rick.
Okay,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'd say, yeah, coordinate with Rick.
okay. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, item number 6, this will be the minutes from February 14th, regular city council meeting. Be looking for a motion.
make a motion, we approve the minutes on the item number C6 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Winter,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes,
motion passed.
thank you. Item number 7, we have the appointment of Nikki Gilday to serve as the board member on the Avon Park Housing Authority.
Yeah, I think Nikki's here and Penny talked her into it. But, yeah, she put in, she wants to sit on it, Penny needs somebody, and she'll be willing to do it.
She'll be a good person for it.
Yep.
Any motion?
I just have a question. Do you have other applicants for this?
Do we have any other applicants?
Did you have any?
No.
No? Okay. And this isn't a thing where the residents or the applicants have to live in Avon Park?
I didn't see that, but she works here in Avon Park, as you
Okay.
know, at the
And
bank.
I'm just
So,
curious.
Yeah, I don't know if you know her. I thought most of you did. I certainly know her. She's the manager up at the local South State Bank who oversees all of our funds. We got to sit with her at the chamber luncheon and I know she got talked into it. So she's great for the city. for
I'm not sure if it's a requirement or not, but I used to be liaison to that board. I know a couple of the members did not live in the city at the time. That doesn't mean that it's not a requirement.
I looked, I could not find, because I learned the same thing.
Yeah.
But she does work here. She spends half the days here. So
And they have trouble finding people for that board sometimes. So
we do work.
step up. Is there a motion?
I make a motion to go ahead and approve Nikki Gilday to serve as a board member on the Avon Park Housing Authority.
There's a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Winter,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next up, we have ordinance number 04-2022.
Ordinance of the City of Dearborn Park, Florida, providing recitals after council intent, amending city code section 98-5 by amending payment plan alternatives to clarify that in the event of non-payment of the required capacity fee and insolvency of the business, the city will limit capacity of the unit to only amount paid for, provide application of repeal of codes, ordinances and resolutions, provide accessibility, provide for effective date. First reading.
Jerry, I'll just ask, did we not do the first reading on this already?
I thought we had, but I thought we did change it.
Change it?
Ready to change it.
So Jerry, would there be a second reading or first?
Well, you read it before, but it's down as a first reading. Is there? Do you?
I could have swore it was supposed to be a second. I don't have the old
Because
agenda.
we
in front of me.
read a lot of these.
Right, yeah.
We've done-
Well, yeah, first we did the residential. and then
Yeah, and then we did commercial, or we gotta change the commercial.
I'm looking at that.
Well, is there any questions while she's looking at it?
The only question I had is why the down payment got up to 40%.
Yeah, I did raise that because we don't have any security for this. That's the problem. The problem was, if you recall, but I did bring something previously that I think you think about. But if the commercial entity is in a shopping center, the owner of the shopping center never give you the right to move their property. And whatever they have inside there, they're going to make them leaving that in favor of the owner of the shopping center as well. So you can take a second look on that. So you really have virtually no coverage at all. So the only thing we have at that point is going after them, their assets, other than what they have there, and also just simply saying, well, you only paid for 1,000 gallons a day of capacity. Anybody else comes in here and wants to put in another X, they're going to have to pay the difference now because that's all they pay for. And that's what this was for.
I'm ready to provide that clarification.
Go ahead.
So originally, we were talking about the PRC capacity. So if you look at your AIS, it explains the dates.
I think we're probably thinking about, in fact, I brought this up, we had some good discussion about it at the last meeting.
Okay. Very good. Well, the ordinance has already been read. So is there any further questions? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Make the motion to go ahead and approve item number D8 for ordinance 04-2022.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember? Yes. Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Item number 9, is resolution number 2022-02 and 2022-03.
So 2022-02 is a resolution of the city council of the city of Dearborn Park, Highlands County, Florida, amending the Main Street Community Development Plan, provide facility, provide for effective date. As you recall, the last meeting, we did raise this, and Frank did discuss it with you, but we had some concerns regarding the city didn't clear that the city could get money for this and some other aspects that we clarified during the high years between the 2 meetings. Back to forward.
Then Mr. Frank did brief us in our CRA meeting. Mr. Frank?
Yeah.
do you have any-
Yes, no, just to recap the amendments that we're putting forward and that have been approved by the CRA board earlier today. We added a government component so that the city can submit a grant application to the CRA for any demolition work that needs to be done. We also added an environmental component for phase 1 studies to be an eligible expense. And we amended the budgeting limits for residential, commercial, and added the government component. So those are the 3 main changes that we made to the redevelopment plan and the grant application itself.
Okay, do we have any questions for Mr. Frank? All right, is there a motion for resolution 2022-02?
Make a motion to approve, resolution 2022.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. One last time for questions. Seeing none, we will call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Hunter, Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passed.
2022-03.
Resolution of City Council of the City of Avon Park, Highlands County, Florida, amending the South Side Community Redevelopment Plan to provide for severability, provide for the
Same thing for the south side. Is there a motion?
Make a motion to go ahead and approve item 2022-0.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember Missouri, Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passed.
Thank you. Item
Thank you.
number 10. Oh,
Thanks, appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you, Todd.
Interlocal agreement between Highlands County, excuse me, that's been pulled for now.
Yeah, I made some,
Yeah, the county requested.
suggested changes to that, and then, they're reviewing those, right?
Hopefully they'll bring it up at our next meeting.
Are they bringing it back?
Yes.
Yeah.
After Jerry and their attorney work it out.
Yep. All right, item number 11, we have reduction of code enforcement lien outside of resolution for reduction request. Mr. LaBelle.
So this was, I offered a memo to the city manager. So, something came to our attention that they and stopped quite a while ago. Originally, the fine that was set forth by them, roughly 67.28 cents. It's short of 6,720.
Randy, you pull that microphone down for you.
Better.
Yes.
Okay, shortly, that's the last known amount that we have record of. Again, this happened back in 20. The gentleman who owns the property called and was unaware, I guess he was trying to do some refinancing or whatever, and found out that he had $103,000 lien on his residence. I told him I would look into it. The only real reason that I looked at this was because of staff remembering a call that was made back around that time when his property manager called code enforcement for, they're claiming that they did not realize that the place was under violation because he failed to put a correct address on the property site. So, anyway, so his claim was he received none of the certified letters or any correspondence set forth in chapter 162. So, anyways, the property manager went out to the location, observed the postings, and then saw at that point that they had a violation for a broken window. About a week later, the property manager claims that she called code enforcement for the inspection because it was fixed within that week. According to our clerk, who was employed with the city at that time, actually, she remembers, I don't remember, but she remembers the phone call coming in from that property manager saying that we need a new inspection or a re-inspection. I don't remember which code officer that was supposed to go out there and re-inspect it, but for whatever reason, it did not happen. Therefore, the $100 fine continued to run and resulted in about $97,000 extra dollars of lien on said property. So going back, I'm asking for this correction based on her recollection I did ask for if the property manager had any kind of receipt or anything that showed that they paid to have the window fixed. They did not have anything that they could provide me. And here we are. So originally, that the last known amount that we had was the $6,720.50 that the magistrate had. Basically, he put the lien in effect at that point and certified the lien. And then it was sometime shortly after. We don't know if it was a week, we don't know if it was a month, but I think abundance of caution would be fair. The last amount we know was that amount of $6,720.50. So my recommendation would go back to that instead of $103,000, which, that was $100 a day fine that was put for. So you had, each year that went up 36,075 days, so 36,500.
Randy and I talked about it, Randy, Mark did as well, and my perspective was, okay, if you want to be a certain way about it, you could probably make this fly, but it seems draconian to me, too much, not what you want to do based on the information you have. I have to recommend that you approve his recommendation.
Have they agreed to pay the $6,700?
No, now I was told that he then plans to do a lien reduction request after, this was the two-part procedure where he wants to then, I believe he's going to try for 90% reduction after that.
Under your matrix, it's going to be difficult.
I would agree. We sent him a copy of the matrix, but we wanted this done first before he can proceed.
The only mention was of a broken window. I'm assuming there was more to it than just a broken window.
There was a broken window, and we have another case where there was an abatement of the property. I think I referred to that on page 2, approximately $174, well, not approximately, exactly $174.42. That was derived from city staff cutting the grass.
I see.
But after that, it was taken care of.
So in layman's terms, was the property just basically left alone for several years, or?
It appears it's a rental house, and he lives in New York, and it just seems that he was out of touch with what was going on. I don't know how long he had the property manager. Obviously, the property manager wasn't doing their job, and he did have that at that time.
Were the taxes being paid and all this?
Yeah, taxes are still current, everything's current. Broken windows, then there's no additional violations on the property.
Did they have city water connection and all that during this time?
That I do not know.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
because
curious.
I don't know that there was even a tenant. They would have had to have potable water. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, any questions from the council?
I do.
Go ahead.
How often does this happen that we don't do a re-inspection and this keep occurring?
It's the first time. This happened before I took position a year later. Hasn't happened under mine, but I cannot give you an adequate response on what happened prior to me.
Never say never. That he knows of it, not to say.
I can tell you it's never come to fruition.
Have you discussed the 90% deduction with him?
No. That will not come until, I have nothing to say of that. They have to pay the $325 to get. Now that we have a magistrate again, it was coming to you guys directly. Now I believe it goes back to the magistrate for a recommendation, then it comes back to you for final approval.
The magistrate just gives you the recommendation.
Correct.
On what he hears factually, and so he'll render findings of that, conclusions of all that started with the circumstances, and you'll look at it and make the final decision.
Any other questions? Is there a motion? Go ahead.
Mayor, I do have a question. Randy, how do we keep in contact with someone? Because as I was reading, they had a New York address, now Georgia address. How do we keep in contact with?
Per statute, we are required to go by what's on the county website. And for their failure to update their addresses on them, we still have to send again, I keep referring to it, it is all statutory driven, that we have to send them certified letters. And sometimes they come back signed for, sometimes they do not, but it's their responsibility.
Okay, and as I remember, the Wilson's case where there was letters sent out, and I made the comment that, well, maybe he didn't receive them, and I think I was told that when they're sent out,
Certified.
certified, that we assume that they receive them, right?
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to reiterate that.
Yes, ma'am.
I think the major problem here was the fact that we were called and told to come back out and re-inspect, and that was never done.
Yeah, it is
That-
obvious.
Because
That is
as
the
I mentioned, legally, could we push it? Yeah, we probably could, because that reason, it's their responsibility to change their address
Right.
and monitor their own property.
Right.
But
It is obvious, we dropped the ball.
it just seemed a little too tough to me.
Any further questions?
No.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we approve item number 311 to cover the fine reduction to $6,728. 14.
Okay, is there a second?
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
Mayor Anderson,
Yes.
motion passed.
Item number 12, we have the approval of purchase of garbage truck, new wayside winder, refuse body mounted on a 2022 Peterbilt 520 chassis.
This is in the CIP for new garbage truck, and your council approved it for this year's budget, and this is a different, I'm sorry, fire truck. Garbage truck than you normally have. It's, he just operated by a driver, nobody in the back, and I have Anthony here to tell you why he would like to get that.
Why do we need it, Anthony?
Too many reasons, Steve, that go into it, but the primary reason, is to help streamline our collection services. As one of our council members know, we had some ongoing issues with our boat pickup services, and you know, and we looked up and we need to we need the truck and able to be able to get personnel over to into other areas with better services. The guys are starting to wear down. The physical demands of the truck is outdated. The physical actually being on the back of the truck, picking up garbage, and we're starting to see an uptick in the wear and tear on the guys. If it's not outright workers' comp claims, it's ran moving upswing in time lost, and this in turn impacts. There's a rolling effect on our services, actual garbage or bulk, and we're seeing complaints upswing in the complaints accordingly. So
Ultimately,
that's just the top service, but there's far more to it.
ultimately, it will decrease costs, improve quality of life, and decrease our administrative costs with increase.
Yes.
Good
and-
synopsis.
So I have a question.
Go ahead.
What will this garbage truck do that the other one doesn't do as far as employees? Because now don't they just roll, and I'm only asking because I don't know.
Yeah.
Do they just roll it up to the truck and the truck picks it up and dumps it? And then what's the new one gonna do?
The new truck literally almost eliminates an entire truck. This truck is able, that mechanism, rather than rolling the truck to a semi-automated assembly to tip it in. There's an automated assembly comes out, snatches it up. It's literally double the time saved, and again, we almost literally can eliminate one truck that we have out, like a rear loader, to divert it to other areas
you see in the, around the city, because my plan is along with the 2 lightning loaders that pick up the big piles, is to have a rear loader offer like a support to pick up the smaller piles, which are never ending. We tires, with designated day for tires, it wouldn't literally, it would be a.
So is that hydraulic, is grabs onto the top of the can?
It grabs.
Oh, okay, and it dumps it like that.
Yes.
Now that's a hydraulic that's gonna be operated by one of the workers?
No, it's a fully automated truck, and he will be inside with a joystick mechanism.
Oh, okay.
Did you ever see the recycling trucks that were operating in Oak Brook? Exactly. They have to reach out inside, grab it, and dump it all automated.
So
It's
this
what
isn't
all
gonna-
unincorporated usually.
What's that?
All of us who live in the unincorporated, that's what picks up our garbage.
Yeah, that's what the county. uses.
So this isn't gonna, have everybody have to get some cans, right?
No. It'll make them put the garbage in the can,
Yep.
because no one's gonna jump off and pick it up.
It's something. So anyway, what are we gonna do with the old truck?
No, they will be.
We're still gonna use the old truck.
We have, we currently have 4 rear loaders in action. Two main trucks and 2 quote-unquote backup trucks. Basically, we will push the oldest truck out the pasture for, to be, sent to the auction.
Why?
Now-
What's wrong with it?
It's out, we only using it now out of necessity, because it's all we have.
Yeah,
But
so
my
these trucks-
question is, what's wrong with it?
Well, these trucks are meant to be replaced every 5 years.
Right, yeah, it's far past, it's outlived any CIP.
Yes.
In the past, you're referring to is the bid site, right? The government bid site. Generally, that's what happens to older trucks. You bid them out in a smaller city, that might buy it up, even though it's not new, they can't really afford it. That's usually what happens.
And
So
so,
we can afford a new one.
and so the truck you're gonna put out the pasture or put up for bidding, how old is it?
2002, I believe. 2002. And now keep in mind, it doesn't necessarily, that will be the plan. As my goal is to transition completely into automated and still run 2 trucks as support, as I spoke earlier. So for right now, that truck won't go anywhere. It's just eventually it will be set up on, that's just that oldest truck as we begin phasing out trucks.
And this new truck is just a driver,
Yes, ma'am.
and that means you take other workers and put them on the other trucks.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
And give us, they won't, we won't, lay off workers or anything like that. We
No.
just put them somewhere else.
Absolutely. Yes, ma'am. No,
You know,
have an
because you
employee
get new
shortage right now.
equipment, mechanical stuff, start eliminating employees. That's not what's gonna
The
happen.
ones that show up to work.
no, no.
That's the problem. He didn't say, we got people, Anthony was driving around the back of the truck today. He can't even supervise because people don't want to show up to work, ride the back of the garbage truck. But no, the object isn't to get rid of any at this point, but if we get another one of these next year, the year after, it's just one person on the truck instead of the 3, which will eventually cut down. That's our biggest problem right now, is getting people to show up to work. And you driving a truck or riding back today? You're riding back the truck.
That's fine.
Can't supervise if you ride back the truck.
So
That's one thing you didn't say.
so Mark, eventually it would eliminate employees as the years go on.
Yeah, but if they went, we didn't have to replace it, but right now, he's got so much, it's like everything else in the city that got cut by employees years ago. We pick up so much brush, we have no one to take care of our landfill that EPA's been on us. We had no one that, when I got here, nobody, or maybe Robert was the only one, you have to have certification even to run it. Now we just got 3 of them certified, so we've got, no one's gonna get laid off because we've got a ton of work that we can't even keep up with. And this truck, 1 driver, that'll give Anthony 2 more people to fill in when others bang in sick or just don't show up to work, or he can use them out at our landfill. which takes a lot of work.
Okay. We have a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve item number D12.
There's a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember Beecher? Yes. Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you very much. Item number 13, we have the approval, purchase of a Ford F-150 pickup truck.
This is a pickup truck that goes with the 2 new full-time employees that you approved instead of going out to the bid for the mall. We're still looking to hire them. We haven't found anybody with experience, but we're interviewing next week, David, 4 people. We'll probably take 6 people. So we'll hopefully get 2 decent ones out of that. This is for the vehicle for them to drive when we get them hired.
And we don't have any extra vehicles?
No,
None.
no.
Because our fleet is
No,
complete.
we don't, and I'll say, I would not allow us to, them to buy vehicles we don't need. We've got old vehicles that still need replacing, right? Again, when some of us got here, the vehicles, if you don't keep up with vehicles and buy them pretty much every year and get them out, you get behind, it puts you in a bad, but we got 2 or 3 that I see that I don't even know why they're still on the road, but we got them. So no, we don't have any extras. And the ones we are, as soon as these new ones come in, because it takes a while to get here, they're, as we told you, they'll go out to the auction out in 66. and back into the fund that came out of it.
We have a motion?
Make a motion, we're going to approve item number D14. Vehicle. 27,000. 13, I'm sorry. About 27,507.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember Beecher? Yes. Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Next up, we have the approval of purchase of residential and industrial Badger water meters and connection sets. Rick?
Meters that were ordered are meters that we put in on a regular basis, other than the large meters, which we have quite a few large meters that are currently not reading, so they need to be replaced. Still trying to put in around 30 a week, give or take.
Any questions for Rick? Seeing none, is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve item number D14.
Is there a second? I'll second. We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Seeing none, we'll call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire?
Yes.
Councilmember Beecher?
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Item number 15, have RFPs, the sale of brick building for beneficial renovation. Mark?
So as you know, that we only had 1 person put in, he's here in front of you today. Go through his proposal to you. Obviously, you would ask questions of.
All right. Mr. Saul, you can introduce yourself.
Dan Sauls, owner of Dan Sauls LLC. as you can see on the bid. I don't know how much you guys have a chance to go through it yet, but let me know with you or.
Sure. So you listed in here the businesses that you're proposing to put in there. I guess we can start with council questions.
The only question I have is the request and permit fees and water sewer fees for, I think it's 3 years.
That was just in reference to while the city still maintains ownership.
Okay.
Once we're, once it gets transferred to us, then we would be liable for the permits for back fees, stuff like
Taxes
that.
and everything, as well as anybody to bring in their share too, right?
Exactly.
Okay. You have what, a minimum of 3 so far?
Businesses.
Businesses. yeah.
I actually have one tonight. Stephen, the owner of the Fitness for You gym, that's on the plaza. And then also in the very back, CJ Wilson, he's the potential proprietor of the coffee shop.
Okay.
And then also myself, with real estate brokerage.
The other question I have is basically your second phase of plan, building office spaces upstairs. what type of offices are you using?
So I kind of referred to the Sebring Chamber model that is up there located by the Five Guys area. So they rent office space in there to small businesses or startups. I actually was talking to the Economic Development Committee, and there's a USDA grant for what they call business incubators. So basically where the startups can have a place to come in, have real office space, meeting space. And there's plenty of money out there as far as the grant side. We haven't factored in to build that office space out with our budget anyways. But it's just, we get to the moon with what they have to do with grants.
What size is yours?
So we were planning on building basically like a 12 by 14 office space, individual offices, so basically single desk office with like room for two chairs, and then having multiple conference rooms available for use.
They look up to maybe 10 offices at the back.
I'd have to look at the layout again to see. We were planning on also having other commercial space up at the top, larger offices. My initial plan is to do half upstairs and that business incubator and half as whatever tenants we need.
I'd first of all like to commend you on your offer trying to move this forward in City Vanguard Park. I think that your interest and your ideas are really great. I think that they're great for the City Vanguard Park. The last question I have for you, especially with the gym being in place, is parking space.
So the parking lot available behind, I believe you guys were offering how many parking spots in the pit? Remember, Mark?
It was 1.7, but that was based on having residents upstairs.
Yeah, I think it was like 17.
So we do have that, the city parking there off of South Forest Avenue now, by the depot. And then there's also the parking there at the Vine Brick building, as well as parking on the street.
Yeah, so for commercial, there's no requirement of parking. So the commercial units could use the community parking as well, street parking, et cetera. The only thing that needed parking spaces, to remember, is the actual living units. So if they don't do any living units, we technically wouldn't have to have any needed.
We just want to make sure that there isn't 23rd space to be by the client.
So
Yeah, it's in our land development code. If you check the Central Regional Planning Council over there to see if they think that there's adequate.
I haven't got a confirmation from,
Jeff?
what?
Yeah.
Schmucker.
It wasn't Dana.
Dana.
So I'd have to go back and get with her on that potentially, but as far as experience goes with Mr. Matters, Jim, I mean, they've got over 600 members, Mike Lawson, and they've got 14 parking stalls. They don't really have street parking. Same way that you guys do here. So I don't think parking is an issue. But happy to verify that.
I mean, I think if the parking lot was completely filled up, that would be a kind of a good problem to have.
Yeah, I would say if
It's
parking.
kind of the point of this whole thing is to develop downtown, right?
I agree 100%. I just want to make sure that the existing tenants don't have to face it.
And not trying to pick an issue, it's just that we have told other people that are private parking. Develop other buildings, we just want to make sure it's going to find out.
Only with living though, right?
Yeah.
Not with commercial.
We want to follow the rules and work with the city as a partner. So
We still have the property south of that.
Yeah, so the city was given another parcel directly to the south of that for a potential parking lot, but, you know, we tore down that old house that was there. You know, it had to be completely done. Probably talking $150,000 to build a parking lot there.
but if we could fill up all those buildings downtown, I'm sure the city wouldn't mind chipping in. for
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah. Right. Whenever we're looking for more parking in downtown Avon Park, you can say that we've done a good thing.
I like your idea. You're aggressively want to move forward that direction real quickly. I think you saw those the first building, you want to best thing done in downtown Avon Park there.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So on the bottom floor, you only just gonna have 3, a fitness center, a coffee, and a real estate broker?
So currently there'll be, I believe in the plan, is 3 other units available. the way the building's sectioned out. They could either be used as one unit itself, or we could split it into 3 others.
So have we considered retail?
Absolutely. We just haven't reached out until we have the city's approval. I didn't want to go sign up 100 people to lease space that we don't even know is going to exist yet.
But it's something you.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest problems that we have downtown is the actual marketing of the spaces. Yeah, so we have several vacant spaces downtown. The problem is that the owners are not, shall we say, aggressive in trying to get people to occupy them. It's more for tax purposes. So I think that if you have somebody that's actually actively going out and trying to market those spaces, I've talked to George Karras plenty of times, the Chamber of Commerce director, and he says the same thing, that they get requests all the time for new businesses to come downtown. The problem is that either the spaces are way too expensive, or nobody will get back to them, that sort of thing. But whenever something's actually available for a market price, somebody's in there.
Well, let's hope that everybody else jumps on board with their buildings. Yours actually goes through like a plan, which I hope it does.
Yeah, I mean,
Let's hope we can get your neighbors across the street.
absolutely. And I was really looking forward to this meeting to get, if we can get yes to move forward with it. I'd love to get in contact with our other partners downtown and see if I can help with much of that as well, because I am a real estate broker in the West Florida. So I'd love to drum up as much as we can downtown. And have a working on it.
Rising tide floats all ships.
That's right.
Are you, when whoever goes in there, are you planning on making the building as close to historically correct as it is?
So we have no intention of changing anything outside of the cleaning up of the repair work. The inside will basically, a lot of floors will be kind of modern, industrial. You know, we're not planning on putting like sheet rock up on the walls in the gym area anyway. Or open air ceilings. We are going to insulate the building just to get the high energy efficiency out of it. So we're not paying the huge like
There's a awning that used to exist out front, so obviously that would be rebuilt prepared.
Yep.
You're not gonna hang any disco balls from that, are you?
Nope, and we're gonna keep it under, those are 4 feet regulations, so we don't have to fire sprinkle it either. So,
It'll look good with it.
yep, absolutely.
They can also.
I believe in the bid, we can't until we have.
So from here, how long is this whole thing gonna take?
So the design process is probably gonna be hold up just because the draftsman right now with all the construction going on. We talked this, Eric at Marshall and Marie, he said that they were about at least 3 months out to be able to start the drawings. Now, he has a part for Avon Parks, and I talked to him about this, he was absolutely put me on your board. So we may be able to get them faster, especially if we have a lot of the layout right the first time. And then after that, we have to get the permit and sign it. Once we get to that point, we were money-wise, and we're good to go. We're just a matter of getting the design done, getting everything approved. First of all, get our fire system up to the snuff. Then get rid of all the potential.
I think the biggest hurdle for all the previous applicants or people that were considering applying was the fire system.
Luckily.
Yep.
So if you, so if you got this far, you've already received the finance.
I don't have the money in here until we, close the deal with the city, but the gentleman that is backing us is very well capable of handling the project.
And
he was actually going to be here at the last meeting, but then we found out pushing it. So he's all.
and if everything goes through like you expected to, you should start when?
Construction, I believe we have to lay down the bid for 9 months from whenever we have the approval. When we start the design process. I think we can get it done quicker than that. But that was just basically to get through design, permitting, so I know sometimes before the permitting process would be.
Contract on this, some of these details as well. Then come back to you for approval.
Okay, and you're gonna do one level at a time?
That was the original intention, was to get the commercial space downstairs, kind of going and see, make sure, we could draw in everybody.
Uh-huh.
But tenants downstairs, myself included, and Jim, we'd be on long-term leases. So we're talking them over 5 years. From when we open.
Would you have residential tenants upstairs?
No, no, that's not our intention.
That's not your, okay.
Residential seems to make it a lot more complicated downtown. So.
Yeah, so some of the other people who have looked at the building, pretty much everybody had the same thing in mind of going residential upstairs. And from a financing standpoint, it never really made sense because the rebuild was too costly. So with commercial, politically, it alleviates a lot of issues because a lot of the problems that we've had in the past with buildings down, living upstairs buildings downtown has come in with the living. You know, the commercial, nobody has a problem with. Everybody wants a retail store, everybody wants an office, but with living, everybody seems to have an opinion one way or another. So I was very delighted to see that they had no intention of putting any living arrangements downtown.
It looks like you haven't said,
And
You got caught.
what is your estimate cost that this should take for you to,
So we've got it broken down to close the initial budget. So for phase one, we're looking at about $465,000. And then the second phase, which would be upstairs, will be an additional $310,000. So we're in the neighborhood of almost $800,000.
Which has been the biggest hurdle for most people.
I think anybody that promote, move this into a working business, but say they don't find somebody who works in real estate. And that's what I said to say, one of the market, it's not a real estate that can do it. And somebody's gonna be a realtor, business owner, I think this is a great choice. I'm all for it. 100%.
Well, in my view, it's one of those things where I didn't honestly think the economy would last this long, but you know, we're at an all-time high economy, so if this building doesn't get rehabbed before the next market crash, it may never get rehabbed. City's been trying to do this for about 4 or 5 years now. Yeah.
and you are aware of all the problems with this building, right?
I've spent a lot of time in that building in the last few weeks. So, and I've avoided the holes in the second floor.
Well, before there's any vote, the reason why we pushed the last meeting is because Dan Sauls is a previous business associate of mine. I had to make sure that everything was good so that I didn't jeopardize his application. I've heard back from the Commission on Ethics, there's no issue whatsoever. I'm legally allowed to vote in this, however, I will not, just because I do have a previous relationship with him, so I don't want anybody to think that I'm swaying anything, and I'd like everybody to know that up front.
I have one more question. Have you taken on a project this big before?
Not at this scale. though. I've done residential, and as far as my real estate career goes, I've done,
So this is the biggest.
this is the biggest. ever. We've done millions of dollars worth of real estate sales over the last 5 years, so I'm not stranger to this number. It's just the first time this number involves me on top of it.
In one building.
No, I'm not talking about the sale itself. I'm not talking about the price range. I'm talking about the work.
No, this one's, this is the biggest project we've taken on. We've done many residential projects in the $200,000-$300,000 range.
I don't think you're gonna be doing all the work by yourself, right? You're gonna be hiring contractors.
I gotta lose some weight, so.
Yeah.
Brandon and I, so, no, we do. it.
That's why the gym's coming up.
Yeah, that's right. Spend some more time.
I get it. Any other questions? Is there a motion?
Motion to go into the situation of transfer.
Be for the RFP of the first one. There's a motion and a second. Is there any further questions?
The proposal and move forward with this proposal.
And I assume we'll come up with a contract and then we'll bring it back, correct?
Any other questions?
I just have one question.
Go ahead.
I hate to ask this. That's our most historical building we have. You see how the one across the street has turned out?
The red one?
One less one.
Is that one?
Talking about the firehouse?
No.
I just-
Oh, all right, yes.
No, ma'am, we don't have any intention of painting the building.
Well, not now, and I know that you're putting a lot of money into this building, but I just what I'm trying to ask, I don't want to see our most historical building be torn down 15, 20 years because it doesn't work.
I can't guarantee what somebody's gonna do in 15 or 20 years, but I can tell you, while I have ownership, we have no plans on changing this here, unless there's something structurally an issue with it, there, we want to put it back to what it's currently there, because it's a whole lot easier to put it back in a small area than to redo the whole thing.
Yeah, so you would make the steps of the recommendation of the architect.
Exactly. Yeah, unless somebody says that we definitely need to change it here. Well,
Yeah, so the biggest issue with that building is the fact that it's not occupiable currently. And as you know from some of the buildings in downtown Sebring, without a CO, without being fire rated, they're very difficult to actually do anything with. And because that building had fell to that point, had mold previously, had to be gutted, there's really no way forward without a huge investment. But once that building that money's actually been spent in that building, and it's been brought back up to code, and it can get long-term finance, at that point, there's a lot of opportunities for that building.
That's the key, is to just promote downtown, while we're doing this project, get as much social media exposure as we can. And then just pack a gym full of people every day, so we can get other businesses downtown, because they want to be talking to people. That's what we've seen happen in Lake Placid.
Well, that's one of the things about a gym is tends to be a very upbeat clientele, and they also like to go downtown. Like I said. Okay. But they like to move around. They like to go downtown. Typically, it's going to be probably a younger to middle-aged crowd, and hopefully they're going to be going to the restaurant, they're going to be going in the other stores, and maybe finding, and they're going to hopefully tell Dan here what other businesses they want to see in that building. You kind of got to start somewhere, and it's a shame that some of our other buildings haven't been open to doing this sort of thing. But I think that if something like this gets started and some of the other property owners want to go along with it, you could really build a nucleus that's going to grow there.
Absolutely.
You have something? Yes. Give your name and address or association with it.
I am Stephen Madrid.
Yes, sir.
So what we've seen, I went into Lake Placid from Avon Park. I graduated from Avon Park in 2009. I worked at Anytime Fitness here in Avon Park. I had a non-compete, so I was not able to do a gym here. So we went to Lake Placid. They told us that there was not going to be enough people there to house another gym. There's 4 gyms in Lake Placid. So, but coming into our 4th year, we're the #1 gym there. So, we strive to be. We have so many different demographics, because we do therapy and we do a lot of other things. So it's not just a gym, we try to house everybody. So from older to younger, and we even let, younger people in. As you see, Lake Placid doesn't have a lot of things for the kids to do. And you get to see these kids running around the streets, and how we've gotten them coming to the gym and start working out. So we've seen a really big positive in the kids. So, yeah, it really does help.
Is it the 24-hour gym?
Yes, ma'am.
And they'll have what, a key?
Yes, ma'am. Kids don't get the keys, but they can come in after school. And what happens a lot of we see is that the kids will actually, the parents will get memberships for their kids, and that gives them time. They can walk down to the gym. They can train. They can do stuff with the trainers. We're certified trainers. This gives them the ability to. Parents have a little time to themselves, or to go get something for dinner, or what. We see it a lot. So yeah, we would like to see kids in there. I think it's a big, the foundation of everything. I started when I was 14, and it was a big part of my life. So, I normally gyms don't let really young kids in, but I do, it's always see.
There's a continuity between the 2 gyms, right? They'll have access to both gyms if they're a member.
Yes, so we will be linking the gyms. So any of my members from Lake Placid will be able to come to Avon Park, which means a lot of people, a lot of our classes, a lot of our big classes, we do a lot of people like group training. So they'll come into the bigger gym, because we're going to make this gym a lot bigger, which will house more.
I have a question about, I know it's a gym with equipment.
Yes,
mobile
ma'am.
equipment. Is there gonna be a room like for aerobics or silver sneakers or anything like that?
Yeah, so we do take insurance and we do have a silver sneakers class that will be taught by an instructor, either by me or my other certified trainers that I do have. So they'll have their own separate room to be able to do whatever, classes, Zumba, just keeping everybody fit, trying to, you gotta kind of look at the area and try to find what works best in that area. And silver sneakers does work really good in this area.
We got a lot
It
of
really
silver
does. Yeah, I trained at any time and then we trained a lot of silver sneakers. So, and then we're gonna try to go to the school board and see if we can help with, helping like the teachers, they're a big part of like the kids and stuff like that. So trying to they used to give grants out to help that. But we're gonna give discounts to teachers so we can do their classes and stuff like that. So. Thank you.
So back to, sorry. Back to the youth part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you offer dance classes to them?
Yeah.
Dance classes.
Dance class, like the kids, not necessarily kids like dancing. I think Dance Unlimited or something does that.
Yeah, we have a dance too. but no.
Oh,
No, like, I don't know, just like
Like Zumba.
almost like a Zumba, but for kids.
we've been asked that in Lake Placid.
Almost like,
We did it over the summer. It actually turned out really good. I just ran out of space in Lake Placid.
so that would be something that you might.
I got 3,600 square foot in Lake Placid and I will probably be over 700 to 800 members by the end of this year. So I'm gonna have to expand that gym too. So this is why I want to go big, to house the amount of people.
I think it's safe to say you'll probably do whatever the clients ask for, right?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
There was actually, I think Futures that came in last year looking for a building, something they use for after classes. To be able to and kids to go to school afterwards, so this would be a great opportunity for Futures to not be on.
Yeah, it really will. And, we have businesses that are around where where the gym is right now and they flourish. Anything around the gym is gonna flourish just because of the feet traffic that we get, I get 100 to 200 people easily a day just walking through the gym.
It's important that you have a good brand, and I've had the fortunate experience to actually tour his gym, and he really does have a good brand. That's one of the problems with some gyms, if they don't watch their brand, and things get dirty, things get messy, kind of sends the wrong message. His gym, if you have the opportunity to go down to Lake Placid and view it, you'll see it's top notch. I mean, it's like a doctor's office. It's very clean, run a very professional operation.
We also have things for Harness Nutrition, just goes downtown on Main Street, so that would probably be a location for you people to come by.
Is that where Pure Grit was? Is that where Pure Grit was? Or is that?
No, where was that?
Oh, okay.
I think it's right by the depot.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Where Pure Grit was.
Anything around the gym will flourish. That's just what it is.
I like the comment.
Oh, yeah, and we also, I'm really big into the schools, so I worked with the cheerleaders, so we did a cheerleading camp. I was a cheerleader here in Avon Park for quite a few years and went to college and all that, but, we worked with the cheerleaders, so we did camps over the summer for them, so let them, use the facility to train the kids to get them ready for competitions. And then we also work very closely with the football team, so getting the kids in there to make sure they're doing perfect lifts and making sure everything's done correctly. So,
High school provides a gym for the high schoolers, but they don't necessarily know always what they're doing. So it'd be good to have somebody that can help them out. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, call the roll.
Councilmember McGuire,
Yes.
Councilmember McCure,
Yes.
Councilmember Taylor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Bernard,
Yes,
motion passes.
Good luck. I'm super excited.
Thank you, guys.
yeah.
thank you.
Thanks. All right, do you have any staff updates? Any attorney updates?
Worry about the record though first.
All right.
The, our meeting, Jerry, I, and our outside council and we had our meeting with FAM, Zoom type It was a pretty upbeat meeting with them from DC. I think Jerry probably would agree, we're pleasantly surprised with them. I mean, from the last meeting we had with them, it was 180, right? They're excited that you've approved going with the AIPP program. They want to win on it. Their timeline that I actually, when it was up, I took a picture of it so I could write it down later, because our outside counsel still thinks it might take longer than that, but right now, before I get into that, our main thing is to put in for this, that due diligence grant, which is the $750,000. And that's an ASAP thing, so I had to use my ace in the hole called Melody to assign it to her. She's working with FAM. So FAM is working on doing their narrative stuff, and then we're the sponsor. We have to actually put in for it, and all the funds will come to us, not FAM to spend as they see fit, which they like that. But so Melody is working on that, and we'll, once we get all the information to get that up, we'll get it out to them as quick as we can. So again, that was a really good meeting there. Their timeline was, they said, as you know, outside counsel, David had told us many times the law will take about 18 months, but they said where we're way ahead is we don't have to go out for a RFP or anything to see who wants to run the airport. We've already done it legally after we had an unsolicited one and we advertised, didn't get any more. So they said that's what puts us way ahead. But basically what happens is sponsor us would submit a draft final application when the application's done, which would include a draft lease. And then FAA takes up to 30 days to complete a review on that to make sure it's complete. And then they end up hopefully accepting it. Once that's done, the FAA publishes receipt of the final application and has to establish a document and accept public comments on the application. That's for 60 days. And then after that, FAA publishes and records their decision for 60 to 90 days after public comment period is ends. And they said, you might have some people that are against it want to come out and that stuff. So then we just got an email, Jerry and I did, from David Bernard over the weekend, big long one, I won't read it all off, but I'll give you the nuts and bolts of it. The DC asked him to reach out to Bart, the manager up in Orlando, as far as this due diligence grant. Bart said that, well, he doesn't know if the money's there right now. However, a bunch of money at the end of the year goes back to DC and they can use it where they want. I'm confident in it because I think Kevin Willis up in DC wants to see this done, so they're going to find us the funds. But our main thing is to get it in there.
That's only perspective, it's not retrospective.
Correct. So basically where we're at, we've got a management agreement that we've all looked at. Jerry gave some opinions on to his fellow lawyers last week or so. They were going to tweak it, and this week they plan on getting it to FAM to take a look at. I'm sure they're going to come back with some things they like, dislike of that, but pretty much now JT doesn't care if 1 page or 500 pages. They want to get going on this. So it looks positive. There's going to be a lot of work in-house with staff and JT working on getting this out, but I think we're moving in the right direction. Jerry got my hands on.
I think that's good.
Okay, any questions from Mark on? Anything else?
I don't have any question on FAM, but do you have any update on our IT specialist?
Our IT administrator, we call him, he is on the ground working, and like the rest of us, trying to figure out why things happened in the past. He's so far, he actually, I said it was an odd fit, but I've got enough direct reports to me. I don't need another one. And David is kind of got a little IT background to himself, a lot more than I do. And so he's reporting to David. Him and David are working well. We've Kyle's been somewhat helping us out, somewhat. Okay, yes, thank Kyle. But no, so far he's everything that the people that we spoke to said he is doing a great job. And it's just gonna take a while to get there because there's a lot of things that are going on the IT side that probably weren't the best of practices. The only other thing I want to bring up, that your iPads are all new and how we get it out. If you got some suggestions, we'd like to hear it. We've already got, David and I got with our clerk, and from now on, we found out she scanned this in and did it through the copy machine, and they didn't come out as good as, we've got smaller scanners up there that work much better. And we're trying to work on not getting it out in 2 packets. It's a pain in the butt here. I just, well, I've got to switch over. But if you have some ideas what might help you, we started giving you the hard copies like I like to have here, so you don't have to flip back and forth. But we want to make it as easy for you because we don't want to go back and make it packets. So I tell the clerk that doesn't make it easy, so they don't want to go back. But if you got some ideas of anything that, if you need some help, get with David.
You don't mind, I just have one suggestion.
Sure.
The PDF does allow you to put titles on the side, and you can select, make it like a whole lot easier than having to scan through.
There are some that know.
We actually, I'm using mine when she sent it out, because David showed me how it did, it showed me how to do it. But then she did it, so, okay. Melody on her new Surface, she couldn't find it either until David showed her how to do it. So,
They didn't show me that, because I couldn't find it online.
You're talking about the bookmarks, where it's bookmarked?
Yeah.
Yeah, mine's not like that.
Yeah, it's called, I think because I've been trying the app that David downloaded on yours, and it's called Outline, but it works perfect with it.
Yeah, the bookmarks are, that's great.
Yeah.
David, you will have all of us in your office, so you can show us how to do that.
Perfect.
I too want that. That's the only thing I was missing. All right, anything else?
That's it, that's anything.
Anything else for the good of the city? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have a question
Oh.
for Mark. Any updates on the DLC when the inmates started going to? Any
No,
updates?
we sent, the mayor signed it and we sent it to the warden. Did he get it back to you? Okay, I'll call, remind me and I'll call him.
You're gonna ask us.
No, I was gonna ask, I've had a couple people, that live on Circle Street. They come to me and ask me about, speed bumps on that road, because they have constant stop sign runners on that road.
I say no.
Okay, well, I'd like for it to be put on the agenda, because I'd like to discuss it.
We can bring it up. I think well, probably, I don't know, it was early on in my career, probably like 7 or 8 years ago. That actually was brought up at that one stop sign that you're talking about. You're talking about,
Circle and right on the corner.
right. Yeah, that was brought up before. The council ultimately voted on time, but I can bring it up anytime you want. Talk about it. Put it on the agenda.
I think there was a legal issue with the people as well.
It can't be a arterial street or there's another type of street. It can't be on 2 different types of streets. They're very commonly used to go to one place to another as opposed to residential areas.
And there's other things besides just speed bumps. There's all kinds of different.
There's the speed dots that
Yeah.
go across the road, but I mean, they've contacted law enforcement. Law enforcement will come out and sit, and who's gonna run the stop sign in front of cops sitting right there?
So once upon a time, there was no stop sign there.
Right, so either people don't forget or they intentionally run right through it, I don't know, but it needs to be brought up. There's been a couple of people that's almost been taken out. that road, so.
We will bring it up at our next meeting. Do we have, who does MOT at the city?
We just got some new ones, I think, trained, but do you know who does the MOT or whatever they call it now?
I've got 2 guys.
Yeah, they just got.
They're certified in the
Yeah, well, we might want to dig up, some regs on that stuff and see what kind of speed solution. So we're not blindly having a conversation.
Yeah, I can probably get the county engineer.
Yeah, there you go. Good deal. Anything else for the good of the city? Nope. Seeing none, I entertain a motion to adjourn. Seeing no opposition, we are adjourned.